Welcome back once again in history classes. We are going to start today chapter number 3, and the chapter is first phase of Indian nationalism or Indian national movement. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about early nationalists. Before going to start the topic, I would like to tell about the syllabus of the chapter. So in this chapter we are going to discuss objectives and methods of struggle of early nationalists and any two contribution of Dadabhai Naoroji, Surendranath Banerjee, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. These three important nationalists are there. So mind it, objectives, methods of struggle, and two contribution of Dadabhai Naoroji, S.N. Banerjee, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. This is only the syllabus for the chapter. ICS is reducing the syllabus year after year, so you are very lucky. This year they have reduced few topics. So let us start with the topic, the early nationalists. So before going to tell about early nationalists, I would like to tell that we are discussing about Indian national movement in three steps. First step is for early nationalists, that is counted from 1885 to 1907, and from 1907 till 1916 it is given for the assertive phase, and assertive nationalists are there in that one. And the last phase of that Indian national movement goes to Mahatma Gandhi, and that is known as Gandhian era from 1915 to 1947. So let us start with the early nationalists. So after establishment of Congress in 1885, that many group of leaders which were known as early nationalists, they were the member of this group, and they belonged to that educated middle class. They were professionals, means they were lawyers, they were doctors, they were teachers, they were officials, and they were inspired by the Western education. Means overall we can say that they were thinking so that Britishers are well and good, and they are doing for the betterment of the India, and they are just good for Indians, and they can improvise Indian terms and conditions, or Indian conditions of the citizens. So we'll go afterwards. Let us go through first important leaders. So first I am going to show you some pictures of the great early nationalist. First one you can identify, he is Mr. Surendranath Banerjee. Second one, none other, Dadabhai Naoroji, and then Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and then Madan Mohan Malviya, and then Firoz Shah Mehta. So these were the important early nationalists of India. Beside that, some more important names I would like to tell: W.C. Banerjee, Rasbihari Ghosh, and Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya already have told, and one more is there, P.R. Naidu, Subramaniam Iyer, and Ananda Charlu, and Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade. These were the few names which were well known for their contribution in that age of early nationalist phase. So let us start with that topic, that what were the belief of early nationalists. I mean, what they were thinking and what ideas they were having about Britishers. So, first point, early nationalists had faith in the sense of justice and fair play, honesty and integrity of British. So, in simple words, we can say so that they were thinking that Britishers are just a blast for India, and they are doing for the betterment of India. And as they have removed the social evils from the India, just like that child marriage, just like widow remarriage they have started, just like sati system they have abolished, and many other social reforms we have discussed in chapter number 2. So they were thinking so. These most of the leaders were belonging to the same background which socio-religious reforms were made by Britishers in India. So in that aspect they were thinking so that Britishers are well and good, and they were having full faith in Britishers to improvise the condition of Indians. So that was the first and important faith of early nationalists. Second one, that they hope that British would grant home rule to Indians. So they were thinking just like Australia, just like that India will also Canada, that India will also have that home rule. Home rule means Indians will rule. There is no interfere of the Britishers, and representative bodies will be there, and more rights will be there, just like the Britain, just like Australia, just like America. India will also have such kind of prosperity among the citizens of India, because Britishers believe in development. Britishers believe in social and religious progress. Britishers believe in economic development. It was their beliefs. So third one we are going to discuss, that British rule had many benefits. For example, cleansing the social ills like sati, untouchability, and child marriage. Already I have discussed about this one. And they were of opinion that Britain would help Indians to govern themselves according to the Western standards. So they were thinking so that Western country is are knowing better than Indians in the administration, and Indians will also know how to govern with the help of Britishers. These were the main 4 points I have taken. Few more things were there. They were thinking so that social economic backwardness can be removed with the help of Britishers only from India, because they are having better resources than India. And last point, that they think so that constitutional and peaceful methods can give that Indians better conditions than before. So let us move for whatever the demands or what they were demanding by the Congress party from the Britishers, that should be there in India. So first one we are going to discuss about constitutional reforms. So demand of early nationalists, what were the demands or what they were willing to get from Britain side uh, to Indians, or what were their demands. So let us discuss with this one. First one was abolition of India Council. So India Council, you know well, this council was giving the suggestion to govern India. So they were thinking so, and in this India Council, all were the Britishers. So they demanded that this council should be abolished. And second one, they want that legislative council and assemblies in both uh, center as well as provinces should have enlargement. Enlargement means more and more elected members should be there. Indirectly they were thinking so that Indians will come in that assemblies as well as in council, and they will make that new laws for the betterment of Indians, and Indian will improvise their condition as Britain and other European countries are having the conditions of citizen. And third important point, they were thinking about membership of Indians by including some members elected by local bodies. So, local bodies, just like Commerce of Chamber and universities, they were thinking so that elected members will be there, so that they can improvise the condition of these institutions. And if these institutions will strong democratically, then India will strong, and rights of the Indian citizen will also improvise. With that, one more point I want to mention here, that they want representation of Indian in the Executive Council of Viceroy, in which all that Britishers were there. So they want that Indians can suggest Viceroy for the better development of Indians, so that Indian will also develop their country. So this was their opinion. Whatever their demands were there, I have discussed with you. Now I am going the next topic. Economic demands means we know well that India was economically backward due to exploitation of Britishers. But these early nationalists were not thinking so that Britishers are exploiting India. But even then, they want some changes in that system, or they want some changes by which the Indian can improvise their condition. So first demand what they have kept, that was there, that land revenue and pro- uh, protection of peasants against uh, unjust demands of jamidars. Means jamidari system was against the peasants. So there should be some relaxation in that system, and land revenue should be reduced, which was there a lot, and that was a burden, or that was imposed by Britishers on Indians. They don't want that this should be imposed on Indian peasants. So second one, that reduction in expenditure on army. we know well that British army was having that maximum expenditure, and they were spending it on that wars outside the India. And this was nothing, means most of the part of the income of India was going to the British army, and they were fighting wars, and they were using the weapons, and fighting against different countries in the world. But Indians were not getting any benefit, so they demanded that whatever that expense of army which is maintained by the Britishers, that should be reduced, and the money which is coming from that should be used for betterment of Indians. So next one, that inquiry into India's growing poverty and famines. So as we have discussed about Delhi Darbar, in that case millions of rupees were spended. Before that, famines were there in 1876, and British government didn't take care of that one. So they want that inquiry should set up that why that poverty and famines are a lot in India, and how we can recover that one. So next point is there, they want that cheap credit facilities should be there. Nowadays we are watching that in every village, or if we, not in every village, then every 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer area we are having at least one bank, and in every village you are having the facility of banking through the Bank Mitra. So they want such kind of facility that time when jamidars or the money lenders were taking that poor peasants in their trap. They want that credit should be available on low interest rate, so that Indians can develop themselves economically. So ideas were good, but Britishers will listen to them or not listen to them, that was a question mark still. We'll discuss this thing when we'll discuss about their methods of uh, methods they have used. Two sets of methods they have used, we'll discuss afterwards. So banking, irrigation, and medical and health facilities they were demanding for the people. They were also demanding for the industrial growth of that country. But all these things were demand, and whatever that Indian Britishers were thinking about them, still we cannot say, because after even that much demanded, nothing was given to India. So let us go on the next topic, administrative demands. So what they were demanding administratively, demand for Indianization of service through that simultaneous Indian civil services examination in England and India. So they want that which exam Indian civil services is for India, so that should held in India, not in Britain, which was held in simultaneously India and England. So that should be held in India only. It means Indian civil servant should be elected in or should be selected in India only. So next one, what they want that complete separation of executive and the judiciary. What is executive? I have told you in the first chapter of civics, means that organization or the system which execute the orders of court, that is known as executory. In that we are including that police department. And what is judiciary? We know well, judges or that courts are the part of judiciary. So that judiciary and in this one executive should be separate. Then what will happen? There will be no impact of executive on judiciary, and decision will be very clear and will not be partial. So that they want that executive should not have impact on judiciary. So next topic which is going to discuss, increase in the power of local municipal bodies. So more power should be given to local bodies, so that they can spend more money on the betterment or development of their locality, and Indians will have better conditions. It was the dream of early nationalists. And next one is there, that repeal of Arms Act and License Act. Arms Act, you know well that Indians cannot have fire weapons without license. They want to repeal that one. They also want that primary education. They also want that improvement of police system, and they also want that employment of Indians in the higher grades of administrative services. Means Indians should also be appointed directly in the higher administrative services, where only Britishers were allowed. So these were their administrative demands. Now some more demands are there which they were thinking about. defense of civil rights. They were thinking so that citizens or the civil rights should be defended by the Britishers, should provide them rights which are civic rights of Indian people. And in this series they have demanded something. What was the demand? That removal of the restrictions imposed by the British government on the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. Means Vernacular Press Act they want to repel, because it was having that restrictions on the freedom of speech. Freedom of press. Freedom of speech means there should not be arrest if any person is criticizing the government publicly. It is the right of that citizens of India that they should speak something, whatever they think so is correct. So these were the rights. And one more thing they want that Preventive Detention Act and restoration of individual liberties. Means anybody should not be arrested without any information. And another one that they want individual liberty should be protected. Individual liberty means without any prior information, without any proper reason, that Britishers should not arrest anyone. As we will discuss this topic in further chapters, misuse of this act, Preventive Detention Act. So for prevention they are arresting few peoples without any thing they have done. Means they are arresting so that that future there will not be any incident. So last one, restoration of rights of right to assemble and to form association. So they want the right to form organizations or associations, and they want the right of assemble, which was a ban, which was again that individual liberties. So they have demand these one. So whatever demand was taken by the Britishers, or whatever they have done for the betterment of Indians, still we cannot say anything else, because these were the demands only what they have recommended, that we cannot say anything else, because their main motive was there to exploit from India, not to develop the India. So we will discuss now what the methods they have used, or which method was used by the early nationalists. So they were having two sets of methods, first set and second set. So first set if we are discussing, so then they held meeting where speeches were made, and resolutions for the popular demands were passed. So they were having the public meeting, public gathering, and there the speeches they were giving, and there they were taking the demands, and that those demands they were giving to the government, British government, for the improvement in the conditions. Second one, they made use of press and criticized the government policies. By press also they were criticizing the government policies, that you are doing wrong, and this is against the Indian citizens rights. So next one, memorandum and petitions they were sending to the government about the facts and the arguments they were mentioning in that one, and they were addressing to the government that real aim was there to educate the Indian people. Means they were willing to educate the Indian people about their rights. They were willing to aware Indians about their rights, and they were willing to educate that how to react if anything is going wrong, or went wrong with them, how they can react. So this was the main motive or primary motive of early nationalists, to educate Indians about their rights, to make them aware about their rights, and to criticize the British government. So second set of methods which we can say, so that they were having three main uh, things in that one: petitions, prayers, and protests. So they sent petitions, they were requesting that one, and protesting against the Britishers uh, for that looking into the problems of India and Indians. So British Committee of Indian National Congress was set up in London in 1889. And why it was set up? Weekly they were publishing the journal India to the present India's case before the British public. So they through this journal they were keeping the problems of Indian. They were keeping that how Indians are facing that atrocities against Indians, and how Indians are brutally suppressing. Sorry, how Indians are being brutally suppressed by Britishers. These all things they were uh, publishing in their weekly news magazine, and that name was Present India, India's case before the British public. And the third one, that deputations they were sending to the British government, in which the Indian leaders were there of Indian National Congress, and they were carrying that propaganda in Britain, and they were making that people aware in Britain about that problems of India. One example is given in a book about Dadabhai Naroji, that he was unofficial ambassador of India in Britain. So we can say so that he create awareness among that British people about that political rights of India, and he also make Britishers aware about that betterment of Indians. So, what achievement they have done, or what they achieved by this one, we'll discuss in next video. So, till then, stay home, stay safe, and have a nice day. We'll meet again on Monday. And one more thing I want to say, that complete that question answers of chapter number 2, 1, and civics chapter number 1. All three chapters must be completed. Have a nice day.